compressed natural gas fueled vehicle information for the first responder. We would like to share with you information regarding compressed natural gas fueled vehicles, referred to as CNG vehicles. This is important because first responders must handle these incidents slightly different than incidents involving traditional gasoline-fueled vehicles. Although the incidences of explosions or catastrophic failures with CNG-fueled vehicle is extremely rare, you as a first responder must first be able to identify a vehicle that is fueled by CNG and then have a working knowledge of the potential dangers that CNG-fueled vehicles pose to responders. But before we get to that point, we need to discuss what is CNG, identification of CNG-fueled vehicles, what types of vehicles is the fuel used in, what procedures responders should utilize when dealing with a CNG-fueled vehicle, and finally, how to mitigate the incident using sound traffic incident management principles. Natural gas, when used for your vehicle, is stored in two ways. The gas is either compressed or it is stored as a liquid. Either way, natural gas is burned in an internal combustion engine just like gasoline is. In fact, natural gas uses the same engine for combustion. This presentation will only focus on compressed natural gas. Liquefied natural gas has different strategies and tactics for incident stabilization, but that will be in a different presentation. Just be aware that even though CNG and LNG are both natural gas, incident mitigation is handled differently. CNG vehicles can be found in various applications. CNG-fueled vehicles are passenger vehicles, buses, and the most common is a commercial or fleet vehicle. This could be a box truck or a straight truck or even a tractor-trailer. This is because natural gas prices are stable and generally lower than gasoline. Thus, it is easier for transportation companies to manage costs associated with trucking. With passenger vehicles, there is a lack of infrastructure to support CNG in cars. Essentially, there are not enough CNG fuel pumps to make it cost-effective. Manufacturers of original equipment, like Chevy or Ford, build CNG vehicles. Conversion kits are available and can be retrofitted by a third party. Automobile manufacturers build CNG vehicles, and you can buy a CNG vehicle from a dealer. But the most common CNG vehicle found on the road is a converted vehicle or a vehicle done by an upfitter. The vehicle is taken to a shop that installs all the equipment and converts your vehicle from gas to CNG. These types of conversion kits must be approved by the EPA for use on the road. An upfit or aftermarket vehicle may have been done by an individual that buys a kit off the internet. The problem with this type of vehicle is that the installer may not be qualified. Furthermore, the individual may look at the kit components and believe that they can find less expensive parts online or at the hardware store. These parts may not be rated to handle the high pressure associated with CNG fuel vehicles and have the potential to catastrophically fail, causing harm to civilians and responders. Vehicles that use or have been converted to run on CNG generally have badging on the rear of the vehicle and possibly at the fuel point as well. This is a small blue diamond that has a white CNG in the middle. It should be noted that vehicles are not required by US DOT to have CNG badging on the outside of the vehicle. Here are some other examples of CNG badging. Some vehicles are clearly identified as being fueled by CNG. So how many CNG-fueled vehicles are there in Wisconsin? The Wisconsin Department of Transportation lists 115 automobiles and 464 trucks for a total of 580 vehicles registered in Wisconsin as fueled by CNG. Before we discuss how to handle CNG issues, let's look at the characteristics of natural gas. Natural gas is lighter than air, which means it will rise, and it is flammable, so flame and ignition sources must be controlled. Because natural gas rises, that helps responders in an incident. The gas will naturally dissipate relatively rapidly at an incident. Metering should be done as a precaution to make sure you are not in a hazardous or explosive environment. CNG is stored at a very high pressure. These pressures approach 3,600 psi. Thus, specific cylinders are needed to hold that high of a pressure. When someone who is not qualified upfits a vehicle, the cylinder type can be inadequate to hold the pressure of the system. Furthermore, CNG is flammable and will burn or explode when in a range of 5 to 15% gas-to-air ratio. If natural gas in that flammable range comes in contact with an ignition source or an object that is hotter than 1100 degrees Fahrenheit, it will ignite. The benefit to CNG is that an odor is added to the gas in order to make it detectable. Otherwise, natural gas is odorless. CNG cylinders are rigid and designed to withstand impacts. Because they are made from composite materials, they need to be shielded from sunlight. Because they need to be shielded from sunlight, first responders should know where to look for them. As you can see, a saddle tank that is covered with stainless steel and ports to read pressure gauges should be an indication of an alternate fuel vehicle. It should be noted that US DOT does require that all CNG fuel tanks be labeled as containing CNG. Cars and light trucks will have CNG fuel tanks in the trunk of the vehicle. And with pickup trucks, the tanks may be in the bed of the truck. The tanks in trucks and vans may be under the vehicle as well, situated along the frame rail. In light-duty vehicles, the tanks may be hidden well, so look for other signs of a CNG vehicle. Heavy trucks may have tanks behind the cab or where a traditional saddle tank is located. Other types of trucks and transit buses may have the fuel tanks mounted on the roof of the vehicle. All of these vehicles have features that incorporate the fuel tank into the design of the vehicle, and compared to a traditional truck, are easy to identify. Fuel is controlled by a solenoid. When power is applied to the solenoid, it opens and allows fuel to flow. Disruption of power will cause the solenoid to close. By turning off the key or disconnecting the battery, power to the solenoid is removed and the solenoid will close. One of the most important things to remember in this presentation is in this slide. In order to prevent catastrophic failure of a CNG tank if pressures build too high, a temperature-activated pressure relief device, or TPRD, is used. There is a fusible link in the device that will open when the temperature reaches 220 to 240 degrees Fahrenheit. This device is much like a sprinkler head. High temperatures contacting the tank will activate the TPRD and release its contents. When it is activated, all of the contents will be evacuated. There is no reset on the TPRD. Once it is activated, it will remain open. The problem with the TPRD and first responders is with the use of water. When water is used on a tank that has flame contact, the water will cool the TPRD first as it sticks out of the tank. This will allow fire to continue to heat the tank, build pressure, and could lead to a catastrophic failure of the tank. Remember how shielded the tanks were in earlier pictures? It will be difficult to wage an effective attack on the tanks when they are so well covered. It is important to note that if fire is impinging on the tanks, and it is well advanced, it is safer to allow the fire to consume the TPRD and prevent the risk of explosion. If there is a tire or brake fire, or you can prevent fire from making it to the tanks, then use the appropriate strategies to mitigate and protect the cylinders. Here's an example of a well-involved fire, too far advanced to attempt to extinguish. When the TPRD activated, note the direction and intensity of the flames. There is no set direction that the tanks must vent to, so TIM principles should be used and a possible shutdown of the roadway should be considered. The focus should be on protecting property in the range of the flames.
minuutjes busje weg.
On Tuesday, July 18th, 2017, a person was filling their personally modified CNG-fueled vehicle at the City of Milwaukee CNG fueling station. At approximately 1 p.m., the Milwaukee Fire Department was dispatched to the scene of an explosion at the fueling facility. Here are a few slides from that fueling incident. Here's a picture of the van that exploded while fueling. The van was an upfitter kit that was done by a civilian. The tanks were not rated for the pressure of CNG, and for a period of time they were able to hold pressure. On this day, one tank was not able to hold the pressure and failed while fueling. The fuel tank split in two, with one end of the fuel tank leaving the vehicle through the roof. Here is a better picture of the exit point. Notice in this slide the missing frame rail. The drive shaft is pointing towards the camera. Here is a better picture of the missing frame rail. The drive shaft is laying in the center near the shoe, and the tank that failed is at the upper portion of the picture. This tank was a steel cylinder with a composite wrapping. This style cylinder is for use in non-commercial vehicles. However, it was not rated to hold the 3,600 psi that was needed for compressed natural gas. Also, this vehicle had the tanks located along the frame rail. Here is the end of the cylinder that failed. This is the end that left the vehicle through the roof. This vehicle has a failure of the TPRD. Each tank has at least one and may have more than one TPRD. In this video, there is active flames near the cylinders, and one of the cylinders may be venting gas. The flames in the video may well be from another part of the system leaking fuel, because the vehicle was not shut off when it was abandoned. At any rate, one of the TPRDs did not activate when it should, causing a tank to explode. Here a truck catches fire and the TPRD activates. The flames impinged on the front of a house. When faced with a situation like this, efforts should be placed on protecting exposures with master streams.
Tonight, a neighborhood narrowly avoided a huge disaster when a recycling truck caught a house on fire.
That's right. The truck caught fire, and Nicole, within seconds, the house it was in front of went up as well. This happened off Los Gavatios Boulevard off Cedar Road in Chesapeake a little before 9 this morning. According to one witness, it could have been much worse.
10 on your side's Matt Gregory has followed this story since this morning. So, Matt, what else did you learn about this?
Tom and Nicole, you can see the damage behind me. It looks like a flamethrower brushed across the front of the house. It actually singed the roof as well as melting the siding. A man who witnessed it says he thinks it's a miracle that no one was killed.
The truck first exploded. The driver who was trying to put the fire out at the time got blown back. There's a loud bang, and then just that roar of the fire.
Christian Phillips followed behind a TFC recycling truck as it started to smoke. He says when he saw flames, that's when he called 911.
The driver got out and grabbed a local garden hose and was trying to put it out. A neighbor came over with a fire extinguisher and was trying to put it out.
TFC Recycling told 10 on your side a hydraulic leak sparked the fire. Phillips captured the images as flames spread to the truck's natural gas tanks.
It sounded like a blowtorch. Just a giant rushing noise of flames, and they were blowing directly on that house. And it didn't take 10 seconds for that whole house to catch on fire.
TFC officials say Phillips heard and then saw the pressure release valves discharging natural gas. The gas acted like a flamethrower, destroying the front of the house. Fire crews acted quickly, putting out the flames in both the truck and the house. Phillips says from his lens, it's a miracle no one was hurt.
I can't believe that just happened. I can't believe we're not standing here in the midst of a tragedy. Like, this could have been so much worse. That guy was standing right next to that truck when it blew up.
I spoke with the chief operating officer of TFC Recycling. He told me that the company's insurance would be covering all the damages to the home. He also said they took the truck back to inspect it to see what went wrong and caused the hydraulic leak, as well as what happened with the safety valve to make sure all of their trucks are up to code and this doesn't happen again. In Chesapeake, Matt Gregory, 10 on your side.
By all means, be attentive to whether or not the vehicle that is involved in an accident is a CNG vehicle. But do not forget situational awareness and pay attention to all hazards that are present. Considerations for law enforcement. If the incident involves a CNG-fueled vehicle and all appears to be in order, conduct your investigation as normal. However, if you hear a hissing sound or an odor of natural gas, look to see if you can identify if the vehicle has CNG badging, either through visual identification or via driver notification. If life safety is a concern and rapid removal of a victim is your priority, then do so. But don't become a second victim trying to recover a body. Notify dispatch of your concerns and have them forward your concerns to the responding fire department. Work on establishing a safe perimeter and ensure that traffic is controlled. If needed, stop traffic in both directions. Considerations for Highway Department, DPW, towing and recovery, and EMS personnel. If you are first on scene and identify a vehicle as being CNG fueled, notify your dispatch utilizing the same criteria as that of law enforcement. Begin establishing the groundwork for a lane closure and expand the closure as needed depending upon the situation. Considerations for the fire service. Ensure you are wearing protective gear. Identify the vehicle as being CNG. Chock the wheels and disable the vehicle. When arriving on scene, do your best to identify the fuel type of the vehicle. Look for signs that were discussed today. Tanks located behind a cab or on top of a refuse truck or bus, or covered saddle tanks. Look for badging on the rear of the vehicle or near traditional fueling points. Always treat tanks as though they are pressurized and contain fuel. Remember to always control ignition sources, and if damage is found near the tank, consider the tank damaged and compromised. Wear your appropriate personal protective equipment and utilize traffic cones when appropriate. If you are actively engaged in firefighting operations, do not wear your safety vest as it is not rated for flame contact. Ensure you establish a safe operating area using heavy apparatus as blockers, and set up traffic cones to channel traffic away from your incident space towards open lanes. Follow your department's protocols. Wear personal protective equipment. Approach vehicles from a safe angle, and monitor the air if you have a gas meter. If you do not have a meter, use your nose and smell for the odorant placed to natural gas. Cylinders are designed to withstand significant impact. Despite this design characteristic and inherent impact resistance, if the tank is damaged, it may release the full contents at once. Fuel lines may be damaged and could release product at a lower pressure. Generally, fuel lines run along the frame rails for added protection, much like a gas or diesel vehicle. Vapors will disperse with time as they will rise. A concentrated or large release can create an atmosphere which will reach the flammable or explosive range. Follow protocols to handle life safety, establish a hazard zone, and control ignition sources. If a leak is detected, remember that the tank only has a finite amount of gas. The gas line at your residence has an essentially unlimited supply. If you are dealing with a leak, it is only a matter of time before the tank is empty. Focus on strategies for safety under these conditions. Be sure to do a thorough size-up and a complete 360 of the scene. Communicate hazards to all responders by using unified command. Ensure all agencies communicate their strategic needs and establish a priority for accomplishing those needs. When things go bad, it generally involves a lack of communication. Thank you for watching this presentation. We hope that it provided you with information on what compressed natural gas is, how to identify a vehicle that is fueled by compressed natural gas, and safety precautions that should be employed when dealing with CNG-fueled vehicles. A special thanks to the Milwaukee Fire Department, Wisconsin Clean Cities, and the University of West Virginia National Alternative Fuels Training Consortium for assisting in the production of this presentation.